Hey everybody, thanks for joining us for another Michael's Community Classroom class. Today, Jessie is going to be showing us all how to make a super cute DIY lampshade with just tissue paper and Mod Podge. And of course, she's going to show you how you can do it with paper, with fabric, but today we're using tissue paper. And she's also going to be showcasing how to draw on top of that with just a regular doodle paint pen. And of course, all of these products are available at Michael's. We want to give a huge thank you to Michael's for allowing us to give you guys some inspiration today on this sunny Friday. It's sunny here in Atlanta, at least. We hope it's sunny wherever you guys are tuning in from too. And I think without further ado, Jessie, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Hey guys, like Emma said, my name is Jessie Jennings and I'm a content creator here at Plaid. If this is your first Plaid class with us, welcome. And if it's not, then welcome back. We're happy to have you. Like she said, we're gonna be making this really cute, super simple, super fast and easy Mod Podge lampshade. I can get it to sit straight, but you get the idea. And all we'll be using is Mod Podge, tissue paper, our brush here, and some paint pens, like Emma said. So again, like she already said this, but I'll repeat it real quick. All these supplies you can get at Michael's or at michaels.com, so make sure to check that out. And without further ado, I'm going to go over exactly what supplies we have here today. So what I'm working on top of is just some freezer paper. So whenever I'm Mod Podging, I don't want to get glue on my table, and whatever I'm, gluing on, I don't want to get on my surface or to stick onto things. So I like to use like freezer paper or wax paper or parchment paper, anything like that. A silicone mat is great for this too. Something that's non-stick for you to work on top of. So that's what I have here, some freezer paper. I'm going to be using some Mod Podge Matte today, but I'll also talk about some of the other formulas you can use. This is one of those great projects where you can use several different Mod Podge formulas and all of them will work wonderfully. I also have my lampshade here. It's a little bit different, but this is the one I'm going to be crafting on today. I've got my tissue paper. So this is an awesome, we were just talking about how great this pack is. This is from Michael's under the Celebrate It brand, and you get all of these colors. So I love, we have like a bunch of these packs going around here. They're so great for crafting because you have so many color choices. So we'll be using some blues today, just like in our lamp that you see here. And then I've got my flat brush here. This is a great Mod Podge brush, but any flat brush will work. I've got some water to keep my brush wet. And then I also have some paint pens here. So Michael's has an excellent selection of paint pens. I've got Craft Smart, I've got Painters. They have all different brands there, and they're all excellent, like I said. So I've got some white, and then I've got a blue and a black one in case you want to use that. I just grabbed some paint pens to match my color palette. So whatever tissues you plan on using, go ahead and get paint pens to match. But you will want to have a light and dark one if you're trying to follow this exact design. And then I also have a hairdryer here. So you don't need to have that at home, but just so I can kind of Mod Podge and then dry it real quick and draw on top of it, just so I can show you guys the full process of how to make this lamp. Okay, that was kind of quick. So if you have questions about the supplies as we go, please feel free to ask them. Emma will be reading the chat to me. So if you have questions or comments, please drop them in the chat and I'd love to hear them. Any questions so far, Em?
Not so far. Everyone's just kind of talking about all their local weather. Some people have 2 feet of snow and 78 degrees in some people's states. So.
Oh, wow, nice. It's like summer already.
Yeah, seriously.
Scissors. I forgot to mention scissors for cutting the tissue paper, but that's probably pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do here is I'm going to show you how I cut my tissue paper. You can see here I have some pre-cut ones just to save us time today. But the way I cut my tissue paper, so I always have like, my tissue paper that I use for that I keep nice and I keep it all, whole for wrapping presents and things like that for gift bags. But then I'll have a pack that I keep for crafting. And the reason I, differentiate is because I keep all the scraps. As you can see, this is all cut up, but I'll save this for later because I can always use this for another Mod Podge project later on. So again, I have like my nice tissue paper and then I have my crafting tissue paper. So the reason I say that is because I like to do it sort of in bulk. Tissue paper is so thin. So what I'll do is I'll keep it all. You can see I have tons of layers here, just how it comes in the package. And to save myself some time, I will, here, let me cut out a square real quick to make it a little.
Hey, and Jess, just while you're doing that, we have a couple questions already.
Sure.
So someone wanted to know, they have a cloth lampshade. Would that work for this project?
So I'm not sure what you mean by cloth, but this is a fabric lampshade. So this one's like just a canvas,
yeah,
like standard material lampshade. So maybe if you have something that's like a little bit thicker of a material or something, It should definitely work for this. Any sort of lampshade, as long as it's too textured, should be fine for this project.
Okay. And then second question, someone wanted to know, instead of, I guess, maybe using the tissue paper flowers, could they paint folk art onto the lampshade first?
Totally. This is a great project to do with paint. Absolutely, you can use your folk art. And what you'll do is you'll just paint these sort of floral shapes instead of cutting them out of tissue and let those dry, and then you can join us back for the paint pen portion.
And we won't get much into this today, but we have tried in the studio before watering down our folk art paint a little bit and just using a regular dishwashing sponge and kind of sponging it. You have to make sure your lampshade is fabric onto your fabric lampshade, and it kind of dyes your lampshade and it gets it to be one even color. So that's and you saw the light shining through too, because that's a big problem that people run into when they're trying to paint lampshades is, you know, the light starts to get weird because there's some blockage in the lampshade with your paint. So.
Cool. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, cool. All right, so as you can see here, I didn't, separate my sheets of tissue paper. I just kept the way it is in the pack, which normally it comes with like several sheets of each color. So the reason I kept it together is I want to save time. So I'm going to take my scissors, just have regular scissors here, and I'm going to cut sort of a rough circle out. And what I mean by rough is that I don't want the edges to be perfectly round. So any of you people out there who hate drawing or cutting circles, this is the project for you because you want it to be wonky. You don't want it to be perfect because then it won't look like a flower.
That's totally me.
Yeah, we want a very loose, sort of wiggly shape for these flower shapes. So as you can see here, I have tons, just that one shape cut out. I have tons of matching shapes now. So that's like a little trick for you guys to keep it all stuffed together to save some time for you. So you want to go ahead.
I have a question. So sometimes when I'm using when I'm Mod Podging onto things, especially tissue paper, it's kind of see-through. And then when I try to use a paint pen over it, like let's say if I use like a yellow tissue paper and a green or a red pen, it kind of like distorts the colors. Do you know what I mean? Like the colors.
I get what you're saying.
Are there any color combinations you'd want to avoid in this project?
Sure, that's kind of what I was talking about in the beginning. So we can talk about that more when we get to the paint pen portion. But you want to kind of be sort of careful with your color palette you select. So like Emma said, if you have any knowledge of the color wheel, complementary colors, you don't want to be mixing them together. So for example, you don't want to have a red and green lampshade. So you can have a red and green lampshade, but you don't want to overlap those colors because the way that the tissue paper works is it is very see-through. You can see here, it's super thin. You'll be able to see what's underneath it. And if you mix red and green together, it's going to look brown where it's overlapping. So purple and yellow is a no-go. Blue and orange is no-go. Again, you can definitely use those colors together. Just you won't want to have them overlapping on your lampshades. That's a great question. So since we're using all different shades of blue today, the overlapping is going to look really pretty together because, of course, they're all blue.
That's a great thing to be mindful of.
Definitely. Thanks, Em. Great question. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to keep cutting out my tissue paper. So what you want to keep in mind when you're cutting your shapes is that you want to have a variety of sizes. So you can do, the light blue, the small color, and the, medium blue, the medium size, and that kind of thing. Or you can just make them all completely different. It's totally up to you. So I just want to have some variety in the shapes and sizes of my circles before I go ahead and Mod Podge them onto my lamp. As you can see here, I've got some really big shapes. I've got some sort of medium sized, and then I've got some tiny guys here too as well. So you just want to have a nice variety in the colors and in the sizes of your Mod Podge, of your tissue paper shapes. Okay, so everybody go ahead and cut out all your shapes. Again, it should be super quick because you want it to be really loose. You don't want perfect circles. And if you use that sort of stacked technique, you'll be able to get tons of shapes really fast. So now I want to talk a little bit about what kind of Mod Podge to use for this project. So Mod Podge is awesome. If you've never used it before, it is America's favorite decoupage medium. It's great for adhering paper together. It's great for adhering different kinds of papers to larger objects like we're doing here today. You can use it with napkins, fabric, tissue paper, scrapbook paper. You can use Mod Podge Ultra to adhere 3D items. So there's so many options and so many formulas in the Mod Podge family. So I'm just going to talk about a little bit today how versatile it is and how versatile each formula is because you can use several different formulas for this project. So for this lamp today, I'm going to use matte. So matte Mod Podge is one of our original formulas, and it works great for any sort of like miscellaneous craft fabric like this one. So I'm gonna use matte today because that's my favorite sheen. You could definitely use satin if you prefer a satin look, or gloss if you want your lampshade to be shiny. Or another one you could use, since our lampshade is made of fabric, is fabric Mod Podge. So this works great. It just makes it adheres to the fabric fibers really well. So you can put paper with fabric. You can put napkins with fabric. I like to Mod Podge on shoes. You can do fabric to fabric, which is great. You can make like appliques for clothing and things like that, and you can put it in the washing machine. That's why fabric is so great. So of course, this is for decorative purposes only. Most people don't end up having to clean their lampshades. So really you can use any of these formulas and they'll work really well for this project.
Hey, Jess, really quick. Megan had a great question. She wanted to know, could you use your Cricut to cut out the shapes instead?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. If you have a Cricut, by all means, that's a really great idea. It'll be really fast. I've never used a Cricut to cut out like multiple sheets at once. And to be honest with you, I've never tried to lay tissue paper on one of the sticky cutting mats. So that might be a little bit tricky trying to pull if you're using tissue paper, trying to pull that off of the cutting mat. I feel like it would get stuck, but give it a try. You can use just, maybe a little bit thicker of a paper for this or something like that. Or vinyl would be great too. Of course, if that's what you're thinking. You can totally do that and not use tissue paper.
Okay, and Megan said she's guessing she's going to use smart vinyl.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. You can do this project totally with a Cricut. That's a great idea. Any questions?
Okay. No, we just have a couple of cute comments. Debbie said that she's in love with these colors and Ashley said, ooh, shoes, yes. Talking about your Mod Podge fabric shoe idea.
Yes, we love Mod Podging shoes. It's so much fun, especially for summer. It's a really fun summer project.
Oh, you know what? Someone had a great question. They wanted to know, can you use fabric scraps for this project?
Oh, totally. Yeah, you can use fabric for this easily. So fabric to fabric would be great for the fabric Mod Podge. But again, since it's decorative purposes only and you won't really be cleaning this or getting it wet or anything like that, you can really use any of our original Mod Podge formulas. So fabric would be really fun, especially if like you're a quilter or just some sort of seamstress, or you like to sew and things like that. You probably have tons of scraps around. My mom is a quilter, so I know she's just got all kinds of fabric all the time. So this would be a really fun project. You could mix and match patterns and things like that. I love that idea. That'd be really cute.
Yeah, and then Megan said, please do a class on shoes. And just so everybody knows, first of all, that's a great idea, and we'll definitely take that into consideration. We're always looking for great suggestions from you guys on what you want to see us Mod Podge, paint with folk art paint. So we love all the suggestions. But we have a class coming up where we are going to show you guys how to use fabric Mod Podge on denim jeans and how to make appliques, how to paint on them, all the tips and tricks on how to Mod Podge with denim jeans. So make sure you look at Michael's community classroom page and sign up for that class.
And also, while Emma's talking about it, I don't know if you guys know this, but May is National Mod Podge Month. So every May here at Plaid, we are all about Mod Podge all the time. So most of our Michael's classes in May are going to be about Mod Podge. So if you want to learn more about different formulas and different ways to use Mod Podge, make sure to come back in May. We have Mod Podge classes every month, but there will be a ton of Mod Podge classes in May. So I love the shoe idea. Maybe we'll have to do a shoes class in May. So keep an eye out for that.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's get started. Let's get to Mod Podging. This is the really fun part. I really love using tissue paper with Mod Podge because it's so satisfying. Because it's so thin, it just goes on so smoothly and it's really fun to do. So like I said, I'm going to use matte today just because that's my favorite finish. I like a nice matte finish on my projects. So I'm going to open it up. I'm just going to use it straight out of the bottle here. And all I'm going to do is, try to kind of place it strategically, place your flowers where you want them to be. You can do overlapping, or you could even do like a cascading flower effect. It's totally up to you. It's your project. So, your imagination, just let it run wild. So I'm going to dip my brush into a little bit of Mod Podge, and I'm going to brush a thin layer of Mod Podge into one area. I'm going to do small areas at a time. I don't want to just cover the whole thing in Mod Podge right now because it dries fairly quickly and it'll just start drying before you have a chance to put tissue paper down. So I'm going to do a nice little area here. I'm going to start with my bigger flowers. So I'll do a big area here.
And why are you starting with your bigger flowers, Jess?
Just the layered look. I want my bigger flowers to be in the background, sort of.
Okay.
So here's what I do. While my Mod Podge is wet, I'm going to just make sure I only have one sheet here. I'm going to lay it down and very gently with a dry finger, I'm just going to smooth it. I don't want to get any Mod Podge because then it might start to tear and things like that. I can feel here, I don't have any Mod Podge there, so I'll show you. It won't lay down there. That's how I know I don't have Mod Podge there. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna make sure I do. So now it'll lay down nice and smooth.
And so Jessie, I see some of that tissue paper is hanging off of the lampshade. Did you do that on purpose?
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that in just a second.
Okay.
So you can see I kind of went off the edge here. So what I'm gonna do is you can either trim it off or you can just put a little bit of Mod Podge on that and just fold it over. I like the way it looks where it's kind of going off the edge, like I cut it out of fabric that had this pattern or something. So just like that, super simple.
So Jess, Cynthia had a question. They wanted to know, can you use Mod Podge to seal designs on drinking and or wine glasses?
Yes, you can. So in the Mod Podge family, we have dishwasher safe Mod Podge. So that is excellent for projects like that, for mugs and wine glasses and things like that. And you can put it through the dishwasher just like the name says. The only thing is, oops, I just put my brush there, is you do not want to, it is not food safe. So just keep that in mind. You can put it on items that go in the dishwasher, but you want to avoid anywhere where your mouth or food touches. So you don't want to put any of the Mod Podge inside the glass or inside the mug, or around the lip where you're going to put your mouth. So just keep that in mind. It is dishwasher safe and it's non-toxic and it's water-based, so it really won't hurt you. But again, we can't say it's food safe. It is not food safe, so don't put it anywhere where there's going to be contact with food. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys.
Ashley said they made a cool mirror frame with black and white tissue paper and Mod Podge around 10 years ago. They got the mirror at the Salvation Army and Mod Podged it so it looked kind of like leather. They said it was a lot of fun.
I love that idea. That sounds so great. We here at Plaid, we try to be really thrifty. We try to find items that, you know, we can reuse so we don't have to have so much waste, and just ways that we can find fun project for you guys to do sort of on a budget. So we love, love, love repurposing items. So I love that you got that at the Salvation Army. That is so fun. So I'm just continuing to add flowers, guys. Like I said, I'm starting with my big flowers. So I'm just putting them here and there. Like I said, you could do like a really specific pattern if you want. I'm doing it a little more loosely, a little more organic. I'm making my pattern nice and loose. You could do like a cascading pattern and have your flowers sort of lined up. Like I said, it's totally up to you guys how you paint this. So again, I'm just gently smoothing down. And if the Mod Podge is there, it will stick. If it doesn't stick, it means you didn't get Mod Podge there, which I keep doing for some reason. It really just disappears on this white lampshade. But I know you guys are gonna ask, we are gonna go back over it with a coat of Mod Podge. We're gonna let it dry for a minute. So in case you guys are wondering, I know the question is coming because people always ask that. I like to let it dry a little before I go back over with a top coat of Mod Podge. And the reason I do that is that I find that it tends to wrinkle more if I try to paint right back over it while the Mod Podge is still wet. So if I were to go right back over this Mod Podge right now, it has a chance of wrinkling. And I want it to stay. You can see how nice and super smooth that is. So that's the look I'm going for. I don't want any wrinkles in my lampshade.
And so Jess, we have quite a few questions if you're ready for them.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, and maybe actually one of the questions you can showcase how to do today.
Okay.
So not this one, but Cynthia wants to know, could you Mod Podge yarn on the lampshade?
Oh my gosh, totally. So the formula I would recommend for Mod Podging with yarn is Mod Podge Ultra. And Mod Podge Ultra is our newest member in the Mod Podge family. It's only a couple of years old, and I think it really just came to Michael's about last year. But it is a spray Mod Podge. So it's a little bit thinner than the rest of the Mod Podge formulas, and that's so that it can go through the spray nozzle. But like I said, I think I mentioned it a little earlier, actually, I kind of teased it. Mod Podge Ultra is great for all kinds of decoupaging, but it also is super duper strong. So you can hold 3D elements onto a project Mod Podge Ultra. So you can do yarn, buttons, just really anything you can think of, any sort of small crafting item, sequins, glitter, it holds all those things. And I have some right here I can show you. So here's our Mod Podge Ultra. So it comes in the 8 ounce and the 4 ounce, and this is the gloss. It comes in gloss and matte as well. So the orange color here is the gloss, and then the matte comes in yellow. So just keep in mind. And it's like I said, it comes with a little spray nozzle, which is awesome. So you can kind of like, here, I'm afraid to do it on this lampshade. I don't want to, not ready for that. But you can use it for sealing too. People love this as a sealer. Like if you're a fine artist and you like to do acrylic painting, people will seal their canvases with this to keep your paint really nice and it'll last a long time. And it actually really makes the colors pop too. So this is a really fun, it's a spray on, it's an all-in-one glue and sealer. It's multi-surface, indoor, outdoor. And what people really love about it is that there's no brush strokes. So Mod Podge is super thick and creamy, and that's why we love it. It holds things really well as far as decoupaging goes. But you can get some brush strokes sometimes depending on what the product is you're making. And of course, the spray, that is not a problem because you're not using a brush. So definitely keep an eye out for that. I highly recommend grabbing some of that and giving it a try.
Alrighty, awesome. And then this is the one that I was thinking you might be able to showcase how to do today. Emily said, can you Mod Podge layers of flowers on top of each other for increased depth? Like, could you place a flower down and then cut out another piece of tissue paper for the flower middle and lay it in the center of that one?
Totally. You can absolutely do that. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a little bit of layering, not really like the one you just mentioned, but it'll still be the same idea of how to do it. But I love that idea. You know, it would be really pretty even. Like if you cut out, this would probably take a while, but it would be really fun. Cut out individual petals of flowers and sort of layered them that way. Oh, that would be so beautiful. I love that. So pretty. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move on to my next color. So I'm going to start doing the medium blue. So I'm going to grab some of those guys. And like I said, I'm going to start layering them a little bit. So I'm going to do just a little bit of overlapping just because I really like the way that looks. Putting a little bit of Mod Podge, and don't forget, I'm working in small areas at a time so that it doesn't dry before I get a chance to put my tissue down. I'm doing the same exact thing we were doing with the larger flower shapes, but we're just doing it with the next color of our blue, and we're doing some overlapping.
Okay, and I think
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I think Patricia was piggybacking off of a question earlier. They wanted to know, can you adhere the Mod Podge on the actual mirror or just the mirror frame?
That's a great question. So it depends on
yeah, you could do it on both because Mod Podge can go onto glass, so it would stick onto the mirror. I don't know how opaque it would show up, if whether you're using tissue paper or fabric. It depends on the opacity of the material you're Mod Podging on there, but it would definitely adhere to both. If it's a wood frame or a metal frame, it would adhere to those things as well as the glass mirror.
There you go. All right, so I'm continuing to do this. As you can see, I really want to point out to you guys, you see how it looks when it's overlapped? Because the tissue paper is so fine and it's so thin and you can kind of see through it, it creates that overlapped effect. And so that's what we were talking about earlier, to choose your color palette wisely. Because if this was red and then I put a green shape over it, that would be like a gross brown in the middle because those two colors would kind of be mixing together. So if you ever did that sort of like color wheel when you were little in school, where they took like the two clear pieces of plastic and put them over each other to see what colors they make, it's kind of like that type of idea. So you want to make sure that you kind of pick your color palette accordingly, especially if you're planning on overlapping, because you will see that mixed color in the middle. Something to keep in mind.
All right, so a couple more questions. Someone wanted to know, could you do this project with felt? And what Mod Podge would you recommend for that usage?
Yeah, you could totally do it with felt. For the felt, I would recommend either doing Mod Podge Fabric or maybe the Mod Podge Ultra.
Okay.
Either of those would be great for that.
Great. And then Linda wanted to know, does Mod Podge dry clear?
It does dry clear. So a lot of people put it on, they freak out because it's white, but it dries completely clear. So it looks really milky and thick in the container, but once it dries, you won't see it at all. It dries totally clear. All of our formulas do.
Okay, and then someone wanted to know, could you use silk flowers for this project? Just because if the silk flowers were super 3D, I don't know how well it would adhere to the lampshade just because it's so heavy. But if you cut out the petals and wanted to Mod Podge the petals on there, that would definitely work, you know. It would definitely work because it's so porous, but I'm just worried about the weight of the silk flowers and it wanting to fall off. What do you think, Jess?
Yeah, I think Emma's totally right. And like we said earlier, you can adhere 3D objects with Mod Podge Ultra, the spray I just showed you guys. The only thing with that is you need to set it and let it dry. You need to kind of like gravity do its thing. So if you had a round lampshade, you'd have to glue one flower here and let it dry, and then glue one flower here and let it dry, because otherwise they would slide off. They need to kind of, you know, be upright for them to cure fully. So
Right.
a little tricky, but I do love the idea of using silk flower petals, because you can definitely Mod Podge those on. That'd be really pretty. As you guys can see, I've moved on to my third color. I'm just kind of moving right along here.
That looks awesome, Jess.
Thanks. So again, I'm using a variety of shapes and sizes. I'm going to use some of these little guys.
And Jesse, we have some regulars in the chat today. Cricut had to hop off a little while ago. Catherine's here.
Hey, Catherine.
Okay, and that person wanted to clear up. They did mean petals, and they said thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah, that would be really easy to do. That'd be really
super cute.
Formula for that. They're nice and thin. Love that idea. If you guys do any of these projects, make sure if you decide to post them on social media and share them on Instagram or Facebook, make sure to hashtag plaid crafts and hashtag make it with Michaels, because that's how we can see all of your awesome projects. We love seeing what you guys make. We love seeing that you've used our inspiration, but also we get really inspired by you guys. So we are always looking at what you guys are doing. We are always being inspired by the arts and crafts that you guys are making at home. So please go ahead and hashtag plaid crafts and make it with Michael, so we can see everything that you guys are making.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Emily said, just an idea, but paint pens on top of our treasure gold would be super cute.
Oh my gosh, so pretty. It's actually funny you say that. One of our content creators here in the studio today is doing a really fun project that will be sort of premiered on our Instagram in a couple of weeks here, using treasure golds with a paint pen over it. So that's kind of funny you just said that, because somebody just did a project in the studio here today. And it looked awesome.
Yes, it sure did. And then Ashley wanted to ask, what brush are you using? And what type of brush would you recommend for this project if they don't have that one?
So the one I have here is a Mod Podge brush. So there's a few brushes in the Mod Podge line, which are really fun to have. They're bright pink, they match your Mod Podge. So like I said, it is fun to have, but it's not necessary. Any brush that you use for acrylic paint will work. You can even use a foam brush. If you have a foam brush and you're worried about getting, you know, Mod Podge dried into your nice paint brushes, you can use a foam brush for this too, but you know, any acrylic paint brush will work. Just make sure you clean it really well before you use your paints.
And Oliver said they weren't sure how this lampshade would turn out, but they think it's looking really, really nice.
Thank you. I'm glad you think so.
And then Amy said, would this tissue technique word on yardstick to make cards? And I was confused, but then they clarified, not yardstick, cardstock. Cardstock.
Yeah. Cardstock would work. The only thing with cardstock is it's a little bit thicker. So, you know, you may need to hold it down for it to get tacky just because it's curved. So cardstock is going to want to straighten back out, might want to pop off. But that's okay, especially if it's a larger lampshade like this and you're doing smaller, you know, circles and things like that. It'll totally adhere. You just might need to hold it down for a second, because, you know, it always wants to straighten out because it's a little bit thicker than tissue paper, of course.
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so we're kind of finishing up here with the tissue portion. We just kind of, I didn't get enough Mod Podge on that one. We're just kind of moving right along. So once I get this last flower down, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start drying it off just a little bit. And normally I would not recommend drying Mod Podge with a hairdryer. I think it's best, unlike acrylic paints, I think it's best to let Mod Podge just dry sort of naturally, to let it dry, you know, as long as it needs to, so that it's dry to the touch before you start writing on it, just because I feel like it cures better, it dries better, it saves your project from, you know, any sort of like bubbling or anything like that. But I'm going to make an exception today, just because for time's sake, I do want to show you guys how to do the paint pen doodling. So I'm going to hit it really quickly with a hairdryer just until it's dry to the touch. There we go. All right, so how do I do that?
There he goes.
All right, so that's pretty dry. Definitely most of the flowers are dry, so I can give you guys a good idea of how to do the paint pen doodling. Of course, like I said, before I started drying, I would recommend just letting it air dry. I wouldn't recommend using I got Mod Podge all over myself. I would recommend using a hairdryer for your Mod Podge projects at home. I usually do not. It's better to let it air dry, but just for time's sake, I wanted to go ahead and do that real quick.
Okay, and Jess, before you move on to your next step, we just have a couple questions, if that's all right.
Sure.
So Amy wanted to clarify earlier, she meant, would it work to put the tissue paper on the cardstock, not cardstock on a lampshade? She wants to know, like, it'll be too wet and make the card wavy. Do you have any tips for that?
Oh no, it'll be really great actually. So Mod Podge was created for paper, for decoupaging. So I recommend we have a Mod Podge called Mod Podge Paper, which is formulated for paper to paper adhesion. So it really keeps it from getting wavy. But a little tip for that, if it does, it's just really wet. So anytime you do a thin piece of paper with moisture, it's gonna want to bend. So the bows a little bit when it's dry, just put it between a book for like an hour and it'll just flatten right back out. Make sure it's dry, of course. You don't want it to stick together, but yeah, I recommend the Mod Podge paper formula. And then, like I said, if it does bow, which it probably won't, just go ahead and flatten it out with something heavy.
Okay, awesome. And then Ashley wanted to know, they've in the past, they've had tissue colors bleed onto their project. Any tips and tricks to prevent that? Because she acknowledges that yours aren't bleeding.
Yeah, so it's funny you said that. I did have it bleed a little bit in a couple places. So my recommendation for that is to use really high quality tissue paper. So you don't want to use something too cheap, especially with like really bright colors, things like that. I've had like some of like my more value tissue paper sort of bleed like that for me, especially with the Mod Podge Ultra because it's so thin. But what my recommendation is not to sort of linger in any one place too long.
Yeah.
So you kind of, later on when we go back to seal this, we're kind of going to go on the blue and then maybe even wipe your brush off before you go around it onto the white. So kind of don't mix. I know it sounds a little weird because it's all Mod Podge. Don't go straight on the blue and then straight onto the white. You don't want to brush right back and forth over it because that's how you can kind of get some bleeding going on. Because tissue paper, it's just really highly pigmented. For some reason, it always wants to bleed. It always wants to just, those colors want to leach right out of it. So yeah, that's hopefully those tips will help you a little bit with that.
Okay, and then real quick, Cynthia wants to know, what was the link again to share your Michaels crafts projects? So if you're going to post them on social media, make sure to hashtag make it with Michaels and plaid crafts with an S at the end. We're always looking through those hashtags and we're always so inspired by what you guys are making at home. And of course, we'd love to see when you guys take inspiration from us from one of these classes. And Felicia mentioned it a little bit earlier. And also, sorry, Felicia said also you can hashtag Michael's classes. So that's something as well. And then Felicia mentioned a little bit earlier, she just wanted to remind us all that in 24 to 48 hours, this class will be available on michaels.com or on their YouTube channel for you to watch at your own leisure. So just something to keep in mind in case we're going a little too fast for you or you missed something and want to go back. Those and they also have a huge library of all of their community classes. So it is a really great resource if you are a artist or a crafter or whatever. So check those out for sure.
Awesome. All right, guys, so we're ready for the paint pen portion. So this is my favorite part. It's really satisfying sort of Mod Podging the tissue paper on, but I'm a drawer, so I love doing this doodling part. So I want to make sure that everything is dry to the touch. It's not totally dry because Mod Podge takes a little longer than that to dry, but it is dry to the touch. So what I have here are 2 paint pens that I bought at Michaels. It does not matter if it's water-based or solvent-based. Either way, it should work for this project. And I have a blue one and a white one. So again, I'm going to use the blue for the lighter flowers and the white for the darker flowers. Again, just you want to select paint pen colors based on the color palette you've selected for your tissue paper. So you just want to make them match. And like I said, you want to have a lighter color for some of your darker patches and then a darker color for some of your lighter patches, just so it stands out. All right, okay. So I'm going to get started with my darker pen. So I've got my blue here, and I'm going to start sort of, doodling, I say, on some of my smaller or my lighter flowers here. So let's start with this guy since he's really easy to see. So the way I'm going to doodle on these flowers, I just want to give it a little bit of detail, just a really fun, loose sort of look. So I'm going to do first, and don't worry, I'm going to show you guys a bunch of these. So if you miss it the first time, just, keep an eye out, and we're going to show you again in just a minute or two. I'm going to do just a little bit of a squiggle in the middle. So I got little squiggles sort circle in the middle. I'll show you what I mean. So just a little squiggle, hold it up. So everybody take a peek at that. Really like nothing scientific here, people, like just a really little squiggle in the middle. And then I'm going to paint flowers, but I'm going to follow the shape of my little blob here that we made, our little cloud looking flower shape. I'm going to follow the edges so that it looks intentional. It looks like we made that, looks like we spent so much time sketching out these flowers and planning the shape of them when really we didn't. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to follow the edge and then come back into the middle. You see how I followed the edge of the shape there?
Yeah.
Overlap him and follow that edge again, come back into the middle. And I'm going to keep doing that, following the edge of my flower shapes. Even if it feels like it's a little irregular, that's kind of the beauty of this. It's kind of makes it look really fun and loose.
And I love the overlap look. That is really cute.
Yeah, it's just a really fun doodly effect. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this, the same thing for all of my light color flowers.
You know what it kind of looks like, Jess?
What?
It almost looks like a sand dollar. It'd be cute to do like a warmer palette for like a beach house.
Great idea. I love that. Sand dollar would be so cute. Seashells, you could do seashells, sand dollars. That'd be really cute.
And Jess, we're doing great on time. So while you're doodling, I want to ask you a few questions.
Sure.
Okay, so someone wanted to know, do you have any tricks for preventing the tissue paper from wrinkling?
Yeah, so you want to make sure you do a really very thin coat of Mod Podge. I think a lot of people are a little bit heavy-handed when they're doing their decoupaging. So you really want to get just enough Mod Podge on there to coat the surface, and that's going to prevent it from wrinkling. The wetter it is, the more it's going to want to wrinkle. So you want to kind of keep it, you know, as dry as you can. And what I mean by that is just making sure that you, you know, you don't have like a really thick coat of Mod Podge down. That's definitely going to help that.
Okay, great. And then Jess, would you mind just kind of filling us in again on what kind of paint pens you're using and what kind of paint pens people can find at their local Michaels stores that'll work with this project?
Sure. So like I said, Michaels has a great selection of paint pens. The one I'm using here is the brand Painters. So Michaels has tons of ones under the brand Painter, so those are great. This one here is, it doesn't see the brand on that one, but they also have Craft Smart. So these are just as good. Craft Smart is really awesome. That's Michaels brand paint pen. So either one of these will work. And I believe these are both water-based, but it shouldn't matter if it's water-based or solvent-based. So some of them look a little bit smelly, you know, so of course use those carefully, read the instructions. But
kind of like any permanent marker, right?
Yeah, like any permanent marker, exactly. To me, they all kind of work the same when I'm working on like paper and things like that. If you're doing something like on slick surface like glass, sometimes the water-based ones don't work as well, in my opinion. You want to get a solvent-based. When you're doing it on paper, the water-based ones are fine.
Okay, great.
Yeah, whatever I linked in the supply list is what I would recommend. So I believe I linked the Craft Smart ones because those are really great. The Craft Smart brand has really great products under it. So go ahead and check that out, supply list.
Okay, and then Cynthia wanted to know, and I think we mentioned this just a few times before, they wanted to know, could you use Mod Podge to adhere rhinestones to plastics or metals? You could, and the formula of Mod Podge we would recommend for that is our Mod Podge Ultra formula. It comes in 2 different finishes, a matte and a gloss, and it works really great for securing, thanks Jess, for securing 3D objects to a variety of different surfaces. It is multi-surface. I've personally glued down some rhinestones to metal before with Mod Podge Ultra, and it works great. You just want to make sure you are very generous with your application of the Mod Podge Ultra and lay it on a flat surface, let it dry overnight, and it sticks great.
Yep, it's like cemented on there. If you let it dry, you know, really well, it is on there for good. All right, so I'm going to start on the darker flowers now, and I'm just going to be doing the exact same thing, but I'm going to use my white pen now so that you can see it better on the dark. So you can see here doing the same thing, but on my dark flower shapes, and the white makes it pop a little more. You could use like a light blue, of course. If you had a light blue paint pen, that would be great too, but I just had this white one, so we're going to use the white today. Doing the exact same thing though. And I know I'm probably going kind of quick. Don't feel like you need to do it as quick as me, but hopefully by watching me, you'll get a good idea of how to draw these flowers yourself. The more you watch, the more you can learn. And so take your time. If you're making this lamp yourself later and you're drawing these flowers, or if you're doing them on canvas even or something, feel free to take your time. You do not need to go as fast as I'm going. I just want to make sure you guys can see kind of how I do it and how it looks in the end.
Great. And then Jess, Letty wanted to know, can you use Mod Podge to adhere glitter?
Oh yeah, you definitely can. Mod Podge is the best for adhering glitter. So I'm not sure what kind of glue you're using right now for glitter, but I recommend switching to Mod Podge because it works so great for all of the formulas. Work really great for adhering glitter.
Absolutely. And we have some really awesome glitter formulas of Mod Podge. We have a sparkle formula and a mega glitter formula that both have different size particles of glitter, and they're available at Michael's. So go check that out if you are a glitter fiend and you love to Mod Podge.
And what's so great about that is, you know, if you love glitter, you know that glitter is super messy and it lasts in your craft area for a really long time. So if you're not doing a lot of glitter projects, you might not want to have all that loose glitter floating around and getting into your other projects. So the great thing about Mod Podge Sparkle and Mod Podge Mega Glitter is that it is suspended in the Mod Podge base. So here I have some right here I can show you. Here is the Mega Glitter. So it's suspended in the Mod Podge base, so it is completely no mess because none of the, oh, it's sealed. None of the glitter is loose. So it's all in there in the Mod Podge base. So you don't have to worry about just getting loose glitter everywhere because it won't come out because it's in the Mod Podge itself. So this is the gold Mod Podge Mega Glitter. I believe it also comes in silver and hologram, which is like a pretty clear glitter. And it looks kind of milky. I actually will open it up for you guys just so you can see. It looks kind of milky in the bottle, but of course, just like I said, like every Mod Podge formula, it will dry clear. So don't worry that it looks milky. It will have a clear base once it's dried. Just making a big old mess here, guys.
And so Jess, we've actually done a class on this before. We had a cute little Mod Podge ornament class with Michael's, but Claire wanted to know, can you use Mod Podge with crushed glass, with glass filler?
Totally. Yeah. You want to answer that one, Em? I think you did that class, right?
Yeah. And so if you're going to do that at home, we would recommend just using one of our thicker formulas of Mod Podge, either our Mod Podge fabric or our Mod Podge Outdoor. We would probably recommend using Mod Podge Outdoor. And just because it's so thick, it really holds that glass filler to whatever surface you're working with. We used it for some plastic and glass ornament balls, but one of our thicker formulas of Mod Podge will work great for crushed glass.
Awesome. I just want to show you guys, I poured out some of that glitter there so you can see it's a little bit milky. But when you spread it out and once it dries, all of that milky base will dry completely clear. So it's going to be super duper shimmery and shiny.
So a couple questions, Jess. Mitch wants to know, any tips for getting the smoothest possible finish with your Mod Podge? So usually we tell people when you're using and working with your Mod Podge, try to just go in one direction. So don't try to go vertically and then start going horizontally, because as soon as you apply the Mod Podge and or paint or whatever kind of craft supply you're working with that's wet, it's going to immediately start drying and you're going to create all that texture in your Mod Podge. So we would definitely try to just go in one direction.
Great advice, Em. I would agree with Emma.
And then Emily said, do y'all have a chart of Mod Podge products and what types of products to use them on? I know it's probably on the bottles, but I just thought a chart would be helpful. So you can definitely go to plaidonline.com. That's our website, and go under our Mod Podge page. And we have all the formulas and all the frequently asked questions and all the things that they're really great at doing. And of course, you can go to michaels.com and type in Mod Podge, and all of their Mod Podge supplies will come up. So those are two really great resources. And then before I end my spiel, one last thing, Paula wanted to know, how do you plan on cleaning your Mod Podge brush when you're done with this project?
So the way I clean, the way I clean my Mod Podge brush is just the same way I clean my acrylic brushes. So like I said, Mod Podge, of course it is gluey, but it is water based. So I just put it in my water and then I'll go and I'll clean it out in the sink with either just warm water or whatever sort of detergent you might use on your acrylic brushes. That's just the same way you would want to use your Mod Podge. You want to make sure, just like your acrylic paint, you don't want to let it dry in there because of course it will clump your bristles together. But as long as you clean it quickly, just like the way you use your regular paint brushes, it'll clean out really nicely. Okay,
looks
so
awesome,
guys. We are going to, I really love the way it looks. As you can see, we have finished all of our flower details. but I want to add some more details. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start adding some leaves just here and there on the lampshade itself. So sort of coming off of the flowers, and I'm not going to do anything fancy. I'm just going to add plain old leaf shapes, just really cute, just to add a little bit more detail and sort of fill in some of those empty spaces on our lamp. You can see the paint pen works really well on fabric too. It worked great on the paper, but it's just as good on the fabric.
Yeah, Jessie C says the lampshade looks fantastic. Devion said looks beautiful. Debbie said so cute. Cynthia said love your shade.
Thank you so much, guys. I hope that you guys get inspired by this project. If you do different color flowers, or even if you don't decide not to do flowers, if you want to do like botanical leaves or butterfly shapes, you can apply this technique to many, many different motifs. So make sure, like we said earlier, to hashtag plaid crafts, because we would love, 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 love to see what you guys are making at home.
Oh, Ashley said shamrocks.
Shamrocks, oh, that'd be so cute. I love a seasonal craft. Easter eggs would be cute. You could do like egg-shaped tissue and then add some details to your egg with paint pens. That'd be adorable.
Yeah, Debbie said kind of a cool retro vibe happening. And Paula said, great class, love this project.
Yay, thanks guys. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it.
It does look kind of retro.
Oh yeah, it does look kind of retro, doesn't it?
Mhm.
I'm gonna stop there. So what you would do now is you want to wait for your paint pens to dry completely. So I don't want to smear right now because I think some of my paint pens are a little bit wet still. And then I would go back over it with a full coat of Mod Podge just to seal everything, to seal the tissue, to seal all of the paint pen. But again, like I said, I'm not going to do it right now because I'm afraid of smearing my paint pen. I want to let that dry for about an hour or so. I want to make sure that paint pen is really dry. And then I'll go right back over with whatever formula you used to adhere your tissue paper and seal the entire thing in a full coat of Mod Podge. So that's it. Any more questions, you guys?
Mitch said they've never used paint pens before. Are there any tips they need to know?
Yeah, so you just want to make sure that the biggest tip, I know this is going to sound silly and it's going to seem like common sense, but the biggest tip is always make sure you put your cap on properly, because it's really easy to just stick it back on there and it's not snapped, and paint pens can dry out really easily. So you want to give it a good shake, and then you want to press down on the tip very gently, and to make sure you have the paint sort of flowing. You might want to wipe off any excess, and then just, you know, really gently you can draw with it. And again, make sure you hear that click to cap it back together, because they want to dry out so easily. So make sure that it's nice and sealed before you you put it away for your next project.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We love, love, love doing these Michael's Community classes. Don't forget, in 24 to 48 hours, this class will be posted on the Michael's Community Classroom page. So you can go back and refer to it if you want to remember some of the details we talked about today. Every Monday night, we're here on the Michael's Community Classroom page to teach you how to paint a painting in just about an hour, our really fun paint night. So make sure to check that out Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And then throughout the week, we're here once or twice again. So make sure to keep an eye out for the Plaid Crafts classes, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.